Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In case it's your first time here, my name is ejatu.shaw and I'm a London-based photographer. I had a test shoot with the lovely bowl from Name Models and I really wanted to show you guys the behind the scenes of that shoot, talking through the different setups, lighting techniques, and also framing, composition, and so on. So for this particular shoot, I was shooting on a roll of Fujifilm 200. I actually had a roll by chance because I had a shoot where I had to buy some film last minute, went into Snappy Snaps, and it was the cheapest film there. I didn't end up using it for the shoot I had, so I thought I'd give it a go for my test shoot with bowl. So as well as being relatively affordable, Fujifilm 200 is also known for its vivid colors, its really nice greens, and it's not too oversaturated and not too over the top. It performs best in well-lit conditions, so in this particular shoot, I was going to be working with flash. The plan was to shoot at the box speed of ISO 200 to give a nice balance between the flash and the ambient light in the studio. Because I had experienced some shadowing in the images from my shoot with Nay, I decided to shoot at a speed of 1/60th across the shoot, which is the sync speed of the Canon A1. So let's talk flash. I used the Profoto B10 as it provides just enough power for when you're mixing with ambient light. I paired this with a Magnum reflector to help shape and focus the light and spread it evenly onto my subject. And instead of using a light meter this time around, I just used a digital camera and kept testing until I had the perfect look and put those settings into my film camera. Speaking of film cameras, I shot this on my Canon A1. I used two different lenses for the shoot, the 28mm and the 135mm. So as far as setups and location, I was going to be shooting against the white wall, but I also wanted to use a backdrop color I haven't used yet. So I went with Carnation, which has a really beautiful and soft pink tone, and I knew it would work perfectly with the model's skin tone and would soften the overall vibe of the images. And the color actually ended up working perfectly with the greens in Bowl's outfit. Ahead of Bowl's arrival, I blacked out the studio except for a section of the last window. This would create a soft, natural glow and gradient behind Bowl, allowing the flash to work its magic with the remaining ambient light. Bowl was finally at the studio and we started with some shots where the light was directly in front of him, starting with our 28mm lens. Next, I moved the light to the side of Bowl and behind him, using the window to provide light on one side of him and the flash as a fill on his other, adding highlights to his clothing and the back of his head. Next, I wanted to get some shots of Bowl leaning against the wall, so I decided to move the light from a regular stand to a C stand for better height and positioning of the light. I could angle the light down onto him without the stand getting in the way. wanted to get some tighter portrait moments, so I switched from the 28mm to the 135mm, as this would blur out the background and bring some more attention to Bowl's striking features. Next, I moved the light much closer to Bowl and put it to the side of him and told him to face the light directly to create some beautiful lighting on both his face and clothing, with the window now acting as a fill light. I switched back to my 28mm to showcase how the light affects the whole scene, where we had these beautiful, much longer dramatic shadows behind Bowl. So our next setup was against the carnation backdrop. Bowl took his jacket off so that we could really show off how the green complements the pink of the backdrop. The windows were directly in front of Bowl, so we also had some beautiful natural light falling onto him. This allowed for a softer, well-lit moment with plenty of detail showing up on the skin. So next we were going for some standing shots. I took the light higher so it would fall on Bowl's face and asked him to step forward to create distance from the backdrop, as this would make the space feel bigger. We finished with some seated shots on the floor with Bol in a very relaxed pose, and I shot this both at his level and also overhead. So let's talk editing. So I processed the images in Capture One to make the grade more consistent across all of them. For some images, I increased the brightness and highlights, played around with the curves to bring in more contrast and show more texture. And for the images that had a slightly red haze, I messed around with the RGB and red levels and played with the curves and the color balance wheels. For the images against the pink background, I increased the exposure and brightness and messed with the shadows, highlights, and curves to separate Bol from the background. So you might be wondering what my favorite images were from the shoot. I feel like this first one is such an elegant image. Both Bol's expression and pose are pensive, and there's a sense of tranquility and harmony from the colors in Bol's introspection. I love the framing of this shot. The directional lighting creates a really interesting depth and allows us to see the details in Bol's skin, and he's really glowing. The light in Bol's eyes adds dimension to his gaze and makes the image even more engaging. I love how the lens softens the background and brightens it, creating a really beautiful visual contrast. For this next image, I love the mix of light from the window and direct flash lighting Bol, and the placement of the light leak is perfect, highlighting Bol's face and expression. The dramatic shadow behind him emphasizes the haunted energy this image gives. So to conclude, the aim of this shoot was to create a striking balance between flash and natural light, and I love that I'm feeling more confident when it comes to shooting with flash on film. We were able to get a really nice mixture of close-ups and environmental shots, capturing Bol's essence and presence beautifully. The carnation backdrop worked perfectly for the vibe of this shoot, and I'll be using it again for sure. Thank you for joining me behind the scenes on this shoot with Bol. Do let me know your favorite images. I will hopefully see you guys in the next one.